UConn Nation, it's January 8th. The sky is not falling. Let's relax. You're locked on.
You are Locked On UConn, your daily podcast on the UConn Huskies. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On UConn your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Before we dive into today's show, just wanted to come up to say how thankful we are for all of you. The podcast has grown immensely, and we're not just talking, crazy hyperbole. It's grown huge, right? The podcast is currently number one college basketball show on the Locked On Podcast Network, and it's because of fans like you who value this great content we're putting out. And we're proud to say we're the only daily podcast covering both the UConn men's and women's basketball through my efforts, contributors of ours, and we are so proud that we have the hoops capital of the world, and we're thrilled to bring you coverage you deserve. So we're showing some gratitude here. Love Kevin Solomon and Husky Ticket Project. We're donating 10% of our revenue to them, helping underserved kids in communities that I grew up in, like Meriden here, Boys and Girls Club. We're sending them to UConn games, both men's and women's, and we're super excited about that. So today's episode is sponsored by FanDuel. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets, in bonus bets guaranteed. Win or lose, visit FanDuel.com to get started. Okay, I wanted to jump on and do a mini pod because we did the live show. The live show is available on audio this morning for everyone that was listening already, so I appreciate that. If you haven't, definitely check out the live show. It kind of gave us a raw reaction from myself and other fans that were jumping on. Bernie, Tyler, Dan was out sick. My takeaways from this game is that I want everybody to remember that now it's July 9th. But yesterday was the 8th. And I hate to put my buddy Mike on Front Street. I love him to death, but he was the first one who made me think about this. And honestly, it's what kind of gave me the kind of the calm. Mike's my best friend. He is a UConn alum and lives down here in Greensboro with me. He is super level-headed. So when he said to me, that was like Donyell Marshall in the Sweet 16, missing 2 free throws, I laughed. And I love him, but I laugh because it was dramatic. And I think it's part and parcel because Dan Hurley has created a no-win situation. Did you know that Gino Auriemma told him after he won a national championship that it's going to be the best day and the worst day of his life? And I find that perspective fascinating. And the reason why I say that is because it's the best day because you accomplished something amazing. It's the worst day because nothing will ever be the same again. And because you are always fighting off the haters and the naysayers saying you can't do it again, or it's impossible to 3P, it's impossible to do this. And there's so much attention to that. It's hard to silo yourself because you're two different things. You have to be your own advocate. You have to pump your own program up so that people know that you're as good as ever. And you have to coach these kids. And this team certainly needs coaching because they're the polar opposite of last year's team. There are some similarities in the way that they run their sets, but the ball sticks too much. And that's because there's a half second of what should I do? Hesitation. So that's what I'm seeing is that this, when Haas is passing it, and then Solo gets it, and there's not an immediate move for him. He's kind of thinking about it. He doesn't go to the hole as well as someone like Cam, someone like Tristan. So we're missing. Forget about the defense. The defense is leaps and bounds worse than it was last year and the year before. But offensively, even though this team is efficient, it still doesn't. It allows a team like Villanova. It allows a team like a DePaul or a Xavier or a Butler, who really has no business being on the same court as UConn in terms of talent. Stick with them because when the ball is held, it evens the playing field. It's the reason why a lot of teams like mid-majors and teams that aren't very good play zone because they are trying to minimize possessions. They're trying to slow the game down. That's why you get some of that token pressure sometimes so that, you're not always full steam ahead. And so you have to kind of break that down first. And that to me is what UConn's missing is the killers that we had last couple of years. I know that's really obvious, but what's not obvious is the positive stuff, right? Positive minutes last night from a couple people. Ahmad Noel came in, and I thought he had a nice little stretch where didn't turn the ball over. I thought he made a great pass to Terrace Reed that Terrace fumbled on a pick and roll. That would have been a kind of a it was a tough catch. Don't get me wrong, but it hit him in the hands. He's up here. He's taller than everybody. Grab the ball, grab it like a bear, go up with it. I thought that was a nice play. Probably could have been a little lower, but still, I'll give a pass on that. He got out in transition, dropped the pass back to Jaden Ross for a 3. I thought he played some good on-ball defense. So I like that. And I hope Dan starts to use him for those 5, 8, 9-minute stretches at times, right? Especially when you need toughness, because Ahmad is tough. I thought Aiden played okay. Solo really showed some great determination, had 0 points in the first half, 16 in the second. And for those of you who are freaking out about Alex Karaban's missed free throws, please get a life. Honestly, Alex Karaban is the winningest player in UConn history in terms of back-to-back national championships. He's on a team right now that's top 10 in the country. They'll probably drop out of the top 10 next week. But it has an opportunity to be the only player in UConn history to win 3 national championships on the men's side. And guys, he's never been the number one option. He just isn't. He's not our best player. So when people start categorizing him as that, just because he's our most seasoned or he's our leader, is kind of foolhardy. Like it's frankly, it's dumb. Use your eyes. I love Alex Karaban. I have a UConn NIL shirt, or not NIL shirt, sweatshirt that has the UConn logo on the front and has his number on the back. I rarely get branded apparel like that, but Alex Karaban deserves that because of the contributions that he's given to UConn and fans all over the country. So enough. Give me a break. That's one of those kiss the ring moments. It's like, really? I mean, Alex could lose every game for the rest of the year with this team and still be one of the greatest Huskies of all time. I'm sorry. So let's just get over that first off. Second off, this idea that he's got to be perfect. He's trying to be more of a volume player, but it's really just not in his DNA. You can see it sometimes where if he forces things, the shot is ugly. If he tries to force it to the hole, his athleticism isn't exactly where it should be in terms of for this type of player, but he's never been a great athlete. So he's got to use other factors to help him score. So he's also not getting the same help that he got the last 2 years. It's a team game. It's 5 people. He's not a guy who can create his own shot. So if he's not going to get the shots within the system, then he shouldn't be the guy at the end of the game going to the hole. That I thought really assertive of him, and I thought he made the right play as he typically does. But got to knock down the free throws. That's it. That's all it should be. Hey man, every time if we play Georgetown and we're down by 1 point and there's 2 seconds left and it's Alex Karaban at the free throw line, I am 100% betting that he makes both of those free throws. 100%. Bet your mortgage on it. That dude is a winner, and he's not a choke artist. He made a clutch 3 down 6 that cut the lead to 3 and kept them within striking distance when Villanova looked like they were going to pull away after they made that nice run. So got to credit Villanova. When they got punched in the mouth, they came right back. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to talk about how we knew this was going to be tough. We called it. I called it on the show. And I want you guys to, it says list to coach, and I'm going to change that. Listen to coach. He's literally telling you to be patient. But yet, I don't think we know how to. We'll talk about that after the break. Did Rocket Money help find any subscriptions you forgot or that you were paying for twice? That definitely happened to me. I had some subscriptions that I didn't even realize I was still paying for, and Rocket Money made it super easy to track them all down. It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place. And whether it's subscriptions, spending habits, or even your goals you want to hit over this year, Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions. That's 500 million, saving members up to $740 a year when using all the app's premium features. For me, one of the best features is the subscription tracker. I've used it to cancel services I don't want to use anymore. I've already saved a ton. Plus, they have a goals feature. I've been able to automatically set aside money for vacations. No more stressing about budgeting every month. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach for financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. All right, you're back on Locked On UConn. Yeah, so this podcast will not allow any Alex slander. I don't care if you want to criticize his defense because it's been porous. He got pushed around and bullied at Providence. He looked better today against Villanova or yesterday against Villanova, but it's still poor defensively. He's got to chest up on people and really get tough. But as far as like calling him a choke artist, like Fox 61 had an article that was like Kara Brick. Like, guys, you got to do better. I think someone deleted it. I think honestly, and I know that's like our parent company here at Locked On Podcast Network, but good Lord, man, like it's just clickbait. It's just silly. And all it does is rile up the fan in me. So I remember I said this to a fan of mine and of UConn. And I said that one of the things that is happening right now with this team, because we knew this would be tough, is Dan Hurley is similar to Gino in the respect that he is a prisoner of his own success. And so he's boxed himself into this corner of we're this, and this. And when those things don't happen, he has to kind of walk those things back. A couple things, right? Aiden Mahaney has to be like Liam. Aiden Mahaney has to be similar to Tristan Newton, Cam Spencer for us to be a title contender. Well, Aiden Mahaney is not similar to those two. And it showed. And now it's more of, okay, well, if he can be more like Joey Calcaterra, we'll be okay. Do you see where now the fans start to get pissed off at that? And it's not because he's telling a lie. It's because he's seeing it with his own eyes. Like he's literally seeing a player not develop to what he wants him to be, at least early. I think Aiden's playing better now. Didn't have a great game last night, but he played well against, as we know, against Providence. So I just don't think he sees that consistency. So he's trying to rein that expectation back in, right? Think about the beginning of the year when he was talking about how they should be preseason number one. His argument is still sound, but because they've, had the situation in the island that will not be named, and then because I'm tired of people bringing it up, and then obviously coming back and playing a lot better. But it's one of those things where because of those kind of actions, kind of backing your players and backing the program and really kind of talking about why, Alex Karaban should be a preseason All-American. Turns out Cooper Flagg is pretty good. So I think we've always known that. I think for me, my biggest issue is always been about how they promote the game of basketball in college. It's really not about, and I know it's semi-professional sports now or pay for play. So you don't have to give me my mentions talking about how it's not the way it used to be, because I know that. But it's still college sports. And for guys like Alex, they should be celebrated, not slandered. And so for him to not get some of the accolades early is kind of silly, considering what he's done at UConn and for college basketball as a whole. But back to UConn and Dan and how we knew this was going to be tough. Same thing with the Sampson stuff and the Terrace stuff. People have asked me, I think Terrace is a better player. Sure. If you lined up Terrace Reed and Samson Johnson and they played one-on-one, Terrace Reed is probably winning most of those one-on-one games because he's probably the better individual player. What coach, this is where I try to have the perspective of, I'm a fan. I'd love to see 5 to 10 more minutes of Terrace Reed every night, but I'm not the coach. And I'm also going to try to understand it from his perspective too, which is that Samson Johnson has been a part of this program for more years than Terrace. And it's not that big of a difference. There's not this huge chasm between Terrace Reed's production and Samson Johnson's production, maybe on the rebounding side, but as far as points and block shots, they're about the same. So that to me is one of the biggest kind of silly arguments is like, you're really arguing about the center position that as a combined unit is better statistically than Klingon and Sampson were last year. So it's not about the center position. It's about the wings, and it's about the doubling down on this sophomore class. So this sophomore class, Jalen Stewart played phenomenal last night. Jaden Ross is not playing well, and I think his minutes should be diminished. That's my personal opinion. But then the coach in me, or coach or thinking about it from the coach's perspective is, do you want to just completely, neuter Jaden essentially and emasculate him and be like, all right, you're not getting any run now after you were starting, after you were getting, 15, 20 minutes to nothing? Or do you kind of like start doing what you did last night, which is sprinkling a little Ahmad, a little Aiden, and then Jay Stu starts, and then you wait for Liam to come back? So these are all the things that he's searching for. And I don't think that the fan base is patient enough to realize that there's going to be losses. I think this is the only loss in the stretch with Liam, because I think the Villanova game presented so many challenges because of the fact of how they play is very similar to us in the respect of from an offensive efficiency perspective. Because let's face it, guys, we did a good job on Eric Dixon. He was 6-20 from the floor. He was 9-9 for the free throw line. Even Dan said, I thought the officiating was done well last night. And I did too. There was a couple things like I thought he traveled on a play. You probably couldn't have called something on that Samson Johnson offensive foul was kind of trash, but I get why they had to call it. And so I think in hindsight, it's really not about officiating anymore. It's just about this team needs to be more effective when they get on the court. Jay Stu 100% grabbed his moment, and he's going to start from now on. If they go back to, they're going to go back to Liam eventually, but I think he also put some thoughts in Dan's head that like when Liam comes back, they can play some of that big guard position where you could sub Jalen Stewart for Solo and have him and Liam in at the same time with Alex, with Terrace or Sampson, and with Haas or with an Aiden, so that you have one small guard and everybody else is over 6'7". So these are the things that we thought we would see this year and that we're going to continue to see going forward. When we return, I implore this fan base to listen to Coach Hurley. Just listen to him. He's telling you everything. If you never listen to my show again and you only listen to Dan Hurley's post-game press conferences or media availability, you will learn so much about what this team needs to do. If you truly listen, if you don't have your own thoughts, if you don't go, well, I don't agree with Dan Hurley. I think Terrace Reed should start. I don't know. I don't agree with what he said because I think this happened in the game. He is the best coach in college basketball today. You're not. I'm not. Just all I'm saying is I please learn from him, learn from us, understand that we're kind of a mouthpiece for, we have no affiliation with the school and frankly, no access. So it's really not about a mouthpiece for them, but I really do try to put myself in their shoes. And that's why I'm not like, I'm sick to my stomach that we lost, but I'm not upset about how we played. And we're going to talk about how we need to listen to Coach. Please turn your brains on. Right back. All right, we're back on Locked On UConn. Tough loss last night. All right, I'm going to close the show out. Look, I'm not trying to be on my soapbox. I'm really not even telling you how to fan. If you want to fan and question everything that Dan Hurley does, like some people do on Twitter, question his subbing, because I do it too. Like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I am above it and I know everything and all of that. So I really truly want you guys to understand that this is more just me. I feel like I've had an epiphany over the last 24 hours of kind of like, don't worry about it. Like, this team is who they are, and it's going to be a tough grind. We're going to make the tournament. We're going to have a chance. And if we get the right luck, if we get Liam back here at the end of January and we haven't done considerable damage to our NCAA tournament resume, the path may not be as difficult as what we all think. But I want you guys to think about the stuff that Coach says, even in post-game. To go back to the no Alex slander, he called Alex the biggest winner in all of college basketball. And he's not wrong. He also highlighted Jay Stu Especially his defensive ability to hold the top offensive player in the country to 6 of 20 shooting, where he guarded him 75% of the time. I know they gave him some help every once in a while, but I mean, his length, these are the type of moments like when you go to the next game, that's a building block. Talked about Solo and Hassan, how essentially they played like crap in the first half, but how they asserted themselves in the second half, but he needs to see that from the jump. And I agree. Solo probably could have had 30 last night if he played like he played in the second half. If he played as well in the first half as he did in the second, he's scoring 25, 26 points. So that's the kind of stuff we need to see from Solo. Because then the defensive stuff is a little less glaring when you have that kind of offensive firepower. And obviously the glaring issue is they don't have Liam. He's their best player. And he started to show that. But I hope you guys understand that there is an opportunity here to think about this from when, if you're a young fan and all you've known is championships and Final Fours and all that stuff, cool. But I'm not. I'm old. And I remember when it was never even a thought that UConn was going to make the Final Four. It's like, oh, man, they kind of choke when they get there. Jim Calhoun can't win the big one. Well, here we are. Back-to-back titles, 6 championships, 3 for Jim, 1 for Kevin Ollie, and 2 for Dan Hurley and counting. So it's a different program. The expectation is higher now. But they're still players, and you still have to go out and play the game, and stuff always happens. I mean, I know Florida's a top 10 team, but they beat Tennessee by about 30 at home, and Tennessee was ranked number 1 and undefeated. So we're not suffering defeats in a way that is, unconscionable, where it's like, ugh, we've only had 1 loss like that against Dayton, and trust me, that's a bad loss. Probably end up being like a quad 2 or quad 3 loss. But look, they've got 4 losses this year by a combined 5 points, 7 points, something like that. So, last year they win these games because they do what they need to do. But this year it's a learning time, and I hope the building blocks continue to stay because there's reinforcements coming in next year. But we still have a chance. No one's given up. No one, and I don't think that there's any quit in this team at all. You could tell. And so I think Alex comes back stronger than ever. If you're going to Georgetown, like my buddy Tyler is, and I know some other folks like Steven is going, and folks like that who listen, enjoy yourself, be safe. I know it's going to be snowy. But that's it. Quick little 20-minute plus pod just to kind of give my thoughts. And I'm going to be a little bit calmer. If my wife is listening, she's probably laughing. But I think we need to be, because this team isn't Cam Newton, Cam Spencer. It's more like Daron Sheffer. If you don't know that name, look it up. Stoic beast. Anyway, go Huskies.